The Zohar says, how do you know it's really time for you to go to Israel or not? The Zohar says something unbelievable. It says if your wife is Muslim and wants to go, it means it's time for you to go. That's what it said. Like apparently it's some type of spiritual phenomenon that if your wife says yes, it means that Hashem wants you to go. Wait. They used to ask, I think it was Rav Yitzchak Bender. I forget which rabbi it was. It was a big Breslov rabbi, like the leader of, so to speak, the Breslov community. And they said to him, how could you possibly go to Uman for Rosh Hashanah? You live in Eretz Yisrael. How can you leave Eretz Yisrael to go to a third world country? Not third world country, but to go to Ukraine for Rosh Hashanah. He said, I'm not leaving Eretz Yisrael to go to Uman. I'm leaving Eretz Yisrael to go to Eretz Yisrael. What did he mean? I believe it was Rabbi Yitzchak Bender, but it was one of the biggest, it was like the biggest Breslov rabbi from the past 100 years. And what's the explanation to that? Because Rabbi Nachman says in Likutey Moran that a tzaddik emet is the land of Israel, mamish. He literally uses the words mamish. He is the land of Israel. So everything that applies to the land of Israel.
So what is the land of Israel, basically? If you're saying the tzaddik is the land of Israel,
right.
Israel is Israel.
So let's look at what the Torah says about Israel. What does the Torah say about Israel? His eye is on it from the beginning until the end of the year. What does that mean?
His eye is on Israel
from the beginning until the end of the year. Yeah.
It sounds contradictory to everything else. His eye is on everything, no?
I understand. So what does that mean? What do you think, Ellie? Yeah, but he's watching over everything. So what does that mean? So the Torah, specifically in Kabbalah and Chassidut, explain that whenever the Torah speaks about Hashem's eyes, it's referring to this bechina of hashgacha pratit. That whenever it's talking about Hashem's eyes, it's talking about hashgacha pratit. Like when we say in the Amidah, Sim Shalom, we say that it should be good in your eyes at the end of the bracha. Why should it be good in your eyes? Why are we attributing to Hashem's eyes? That doesn't have eyes. The answer is that when hashgacha pratit spreads over the world in a way that everybody can experience, automatically there's going to be peace in the world, because all suffering comes from that being hidden from you. In the land of Israel, you have a very easy way of experiencing that everything is hashgacha pratit. It's literally a part of the land. By being in that land, you feel that everything is from Hashem. Okay? So comes the Zohar to teach you, and Rabbeinu Zal and the Baal Shem Tov, that the tzaddik is mamish the land of Israel, meaning whenever you're with him, you feel that the eyes of Hashem are on you at all times. That's why when people come and they learn Rabbeinu's Torah, they automatically start to feel better. Why? Because they were in a place of concealment. They didn't feel that Hashem was the one who was doing things for them. They felt that they were out of control. They felt that that things were spiraling out, that there was chaos, that there was tohu vohu. All of a sudden, they came to see the face of the tzaddik, meaning they stepped foot into the land of Israel. And then when they're there, the eyes of Hashem are on it, and they feel hashgacha pratit. And automatically you're besimcha. Automatically you're happy. So when you go by the kever of the tzaddik, Rabbi Nachman says specifically, says that anybody goes to the kever of the Baal Shem Tov, which is right near Rabbi Nachman, we can do that as well. So we can go Mezi Bush, but it's only 3 hours drive. You can go to Rav Levi or Berditchev. If you want to go further, you can go to the Baal Tanya. You can go to Rav Natan in Breslov. All on this trip. Zot Hashem.
We're going to be able to visit.
Zot Hashem.
You going to Uman?
Yeah, for Hanukkah. No, we're going from Wednesday to Monday. You should come.
Are you going too?
I would like to. I
think Barry should go with you. I think it's going to be even better.
Are we going to be able to get a room together, or how is that going to work?
Wednesday to Monday. Wednesday to Monday. Just about Hanukkah.
They always find something that has nothing to do with the trip.
It'll be life changing.
I've been to one 4 times.
It'll be life changing.
I love them. I've been there a while.
It's a bit different now because you have a cheshik to the Torah now.
And we'll have a great time.
We're going to have the best time.
We're going to connect like nobody.
Yeah, we're going to become a family over there.
Group?
Yeah.
Hey, you have somebody with the hotel room?
If I could go, I would like to come.
Okay, good. You should try as hard as you can because it's like going to the land of Israel. Okay?
Michael already bought the ticket.
What?
Michael already bought the ticket.
Mike bought the ticket. Avraham bought the ticket. They're part of Tzion. They're Mike and Chav. Yeah, of course. Avraham, they come to all the classes. So far, 3 of us for sure are going.
You have a ticket?
Yeah.
You're going?
Yeah.
Can you send me your...
There's no Shiur that's walking anyone this time?
No.
It's open.
It's open.
And Hanukkah's in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
How much are tickets?
No. You have the ticket, the place, food, everything for 8 something.
No way.
nothing.
No way.
What in? What are you gonna stay?
Yeah,
That's not bad. That's really good.
I know.
How'd you do that?
Hashem. He wants
Can you
to
give
go
me
for Hanukkah.
who I call?
Talk to Avram Aminov.
Abraham?
Yeah, tell him I want to go
Well,
on
it's
some
nothing.
Including transportation,
It's been $2,000.
food, lodging, airplane.
flights, but taxis there.
No, taxi is something different.
No, it's,
But you got
we spent $2,000. We almost got anything. We
you
didn't
got
have any
you
food.
guys speak Russian. You can just like give them 5 cents and they'll give it.
Year after year.
You don't know him.
$1,500
Huh?
and for 2 nights.
Wait,
Okay.
hold on. Let's talk about this a minute.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I think this is so nice. I think it would give
It's not
us
so nice.
fear.
It's not gonna give you keys. It's gonna take you to another world. You're
You
gonna
want to go, Barry?
I'm gonna consider it heavily. Yeah, if you're in, that's my one.
I would like to be in, and I'm going to try.
we're
my
gonna go
hardest.
as a family, and you should know I am Bezrat Hashem going to the land of Israel. I think this is our last. Yeah,
Pesach
I
time.
think this is our last real shot to really
Make it a thing.
make it a
Because when
thing.
we're
That
too
that
far away-
forever we're gonna be a family. I really think so.
This thing with Israel with you is seriously happening?
Yeah.
It's not. I'm joking. I'm joking. I know you got to sell last time.
Yeah. It's really a thing.
Do you have a place to where you're considering already?
Bezrat Hashem.
Where you're flying?
Bezrat Hashem.
Where?
We'll talk about
He
that.
doesn't want to talk about it.
I want to do the lesson.
Is that more important to you than talking about Israel?
Because I want you to be in the land of Israel right now.
Let's go.
Is it wrong
Yes.
that a person you really wanted to go and all of a sudden you speak to somebody and they just destroy all your
That's
dreams?
not wrong, but what that is called, Rabbi Nachman says.
This person was in tears
Wait, I
talking to me.
want to read you something. 1 second. I want to.
Kalmus, your mom came in my life at the right time, and I'm thankful every single day.
Baruch Hashem. It's mutual.
Have you ever heard about Rabbi Natan Maimon?
Yes.
I listened to all his lectures, and now one time he mentioned what to do.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to read you something. Put your stuff away.
What is this? Which one is that? I read this. Oh, I read this. I know which is mine.
What am I going to read?
I took a picture of that.
What am I going to read?
A person that whoever you want to go to Israel and you speak to somebody, I read that.
And
And it was amazing. I took a picture of it. Really have it.
what did it do for you?
It brought me an open eye. Right here.
Okay. Where is that?
I just took a this is the bull and the ram story.
Okay, 1
Which
second.
is this is yesterday's.
This was yesterday's. Okay, so everybody listen to this. Listen to this. This is from Likutey Moran.
Meet anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, all you need is each other. The lesson is
He's trying to get more guys.
good. Likutey Moran, but it doesn't have to be a whole big zach.
It's better not.
Go sit down.
We're trying to. Sir, we're trying.
David, you're making me
Stop
nervous,
resisting.
and your H belt is really.
H for Hashem.
Yes. Okay. So listen, in Likutey Moran Torah Chaf, it's 20. This is Kitzer Likutey Moran. Rabbi Nachman asked his student Rav Natan to make a Kitzer, meaning bring out all of the practical points from Likutey Moran in short, so that people just know what do I have to take away from all of these lessons, because they're very deep and they're very complex. They're like tapestries. You've seen a little bit of it. Yes, tapestries. Okay. So this is lesson 20. He says the land of Israel, one of three things that are acquired through suffering. And if we know now that the Tzaddik Emet is also called Eretz Yisrael, we can understand why it's so hard to get to him and to connect to him. Because it requires suffering to get to the land of Israel. It requires suffering to have Torah, and it requires suffering to get to Olam Haba. These are the 3 greatest goods, and that's what the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot. And now we understand that to have Hitkashrut with the Tzaddik Emet is the same thing as being in the land of Israel. So that's why it also takes suffering. And that's why the majority of people who connect to Rabbeinu have been through so much in their life, because they don't even realize that Hashem wants to give them the ultimate good and is bringing them to the land of Israel. And then you'd be happy to. And only through suffering can a person come to the land. The main suffering, where is the suffering though from going to the land? Where is the main suffering from trying to get Olam Haba and Olam Hazeh? What's the main suffering from trying to acquire this thing called Torah? What's the main suffering from wanting to be attached to a real tzaddik? Those people who spread dibat ra, that they speak Lashon Hara, the Meraglim. The whole entire inyan of the Meraglim is that you're always, when you try to get to the land of Israel or try to attain the ultimate good, Hikashu to the tzaddik, you automatically are going to have everybody else telling you not to do that. Everybody who's my student, including myself, knows they all got so pumped up when they started coming to the classes. Everyone has the same response. How do we not all learn this? Why would anybody say not to learn this, right? It not just works, it's the greatest thing in the world. Mamish, it's the sweetest thing in the world, and it changes your life. And then when they go so excited and they go tell their family and friends about what they're doing, everyone says, what are you doing? X, Y, and Z. And they get very offended and hurt. And they come to me and they say, why is everybody doing this? And the reason is, and same thing if you want to go to Uman, same thing if you want to go live in the land. Why is everybody saying not to do these things? It's not because there's a physical mitzvah that there's a problem. There always is that thing. Whenever a person wants to go to the land of Israel for the past 2,000 years, people said not to do that. Not a hesitation. There is a spiritual impediment that does not want you to get to the land, and it encloses itself within people, places, and things.
It's also like Emunah as well.
It comes from a lack of emunah. The whole entire reason is because in order to get to the land, you need to acquire emunah. But you cannot acquire emunah unless everybody else around you is making you question it, which is paradoxical. But the only way to draw emunah out of yourself is when you have opposition to your emunah. It's like Yaakov and Esav. They're both in the womb together. One goes up, the other goes down. You need Esav to be pressuring you and squeezing you, even though you're saying to yourself, why is this person causing me so much suffering and struggling? But in the end, through Esav, Yaakov became Yisrael. And if not for Esav, Yaakov never would have acquired the name Yisrael. And Yisrael is mamish, the highest madrega. To be Yisrael means you left exile and you moved into Geula, to Ashgacha Pratit, to Emunah Shlema. That all came through Esav. That all comes from the difficulties and the challenges. But if you believe in Esav, you never become Yisrael. He's there only to serve as an impediment so that you're able to find within yourself the resources that were only in potential to actualize them and become Yisrael. The same thing goes by Hikashu to the Tzaddik. Everyone's going to tell you, what are you doing, X, Y, and Z, and it's going to sound logical. It's not Gemara, it's not Halachah. Yeah, but it's getting me to learn Gemara and Halachah even more than I did before. Nah, and I'm talking to Hashem. Talking to Hashem? Why are you talking to Hashem? And on paper, if you really think about it, it doesn't even make sense.
Rabbi, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again? To become Yisrael, it's what?
To become Yisrael, you need Esav. Yaakov has a twin. His name is Esav.
Right.
It's taught in Chassidut and Kabbalah that Yaakov represents the Jew in Galut. Yaakov represents the Jew that Hashem is hidden from him, which is all of us. His ability to become Yisrael, right? What's Yisrael? Yashar Kel, meaning I have a straight path to Hashem. I literally see Hashem in front of my face all the time. I have Hashgacha Pratit becomes my normative mode of existence. That only came through him fighting Esav and then ultimately the source of Esav. And when he ultimately won, therefore he became Yisrael.
So Esav isn't inherently bad.
No. He's only bad when you listen to him. But if you understand who Esav is, and you have the tools, and you have the ratzon to overcome him, then he's the greatest thing that can happen. That's why the Malach Mavet is actually called a good angel. Okay? So now I'm going to put everybody else on mute, and that's the reason. So if people come over to you and tell you, don't go to live in the land, or they say to you, don't go to be by the tzaddik, or they say to you, why are you being so fanatical and you're trying to get closer to Hashem spiritually, called Torah? And why are you trying, so to speak, why is your primary goal something spiritual, not physical? You automatically will receive resistance. And it's not because we live in 2020. It's not because we live in a different generation. It's because this is the way of Olam Hazeh. That for the greatest good, you need to be faced with the greatest maniyot. Understood?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, we learned yesterday that...
Oh, we have a good piece today.
Yeah, piece is good piece. We learned yesterday That what is the, so to speak, the indicator that a person has acquired a muna? The answer is if he has zerizut. If he is quick, that not just quick, but he wants to go run to do a mitzvah, and he's literally not wasting any time, and he's not stumbling and bumbling around talking to his friends about the game last night, going to get bagels at the bagel shop, but he literally is running to the next mitzvah, it means he has a muna. And this is one of the things that you see by all tzaddikim, that they are running from mitzvah to mitzvah to mitzvah. It is the natural expression of a person who has a muna. Just like a person, we're going to learn, a person who doesn't have a muna in Hashem, but he has a muna in Parnasa, what does he do? He does the same thing, but by money. He runs from this place to this place to this place to this place to get money, just like the person who has connected to Hashem and realizes that he's the source of money and he's the source of all good. So that's the same exact mindset he has in running after mitzvah for mitzvah. Because for him, he's having that same inner experience. He's having that same internal experience that a person who's running after money has there. And that's why you see him going and you say, why are you being so extreme? Why don't you take a break? Why don't you relax? Why don't we just talk for a little bit? And the reason they don't want to is because to them, their money, and even more so, is their ability, potential to have devekut with Hashem, which is the greatest ecstasy and pleasure in the world. Okay? Now, Rabbeinu Zal teaches in the 13th Torah of Likutey Moharan, Yud Gimel, something unbelievable. That the key to experiencing Hashgacha Pratit at all times, that you always experience that Hashem is the one controlling your life, comes with Shrirat Tavot Maimon. If a person can nullify and break his desire for money, which doesn't mean to support his family, it doesn't mean not to have what you need, it doesn't mean not to have money to do mitzvot, it doesn't mean any of those things. To break your desire for money as a taiva in and of itself. Does that make sense? You see the difference? We're going to get more into it, but very simply put, there's certain people that they eat because they're hungry, and there's certain people that eat simply because they like eating. No questions yet. No. So when a person eats because he's hungry, it's good for him. That's why he's hungry, because his body's telling him, I need to eat food, right? But we know that food tastes amazing, so we continue to eat. What happens after you continue to eat past the point of hunger and you're satiated? You start to feel tired. You start to lose energy. You start to lose koach. You can literally be knocked out for the whole rest of your day. Food coma. Very good. Not only that, you could also lose all of your inner motivation, let's say, to do the things that you plan on doing that day. Why is that? Because Rabbi Nachman teaches that the greatest impediment to your life is excess. Any physical excess is going to completely nullify and bittul your fervor for good. And where is that taiva the greatest in the last generation before Mashiach comes? Rabbeinu Zal says the taiva of money. And we learn this by the golden calf, because he explains that the entire golden calf was revolved around taiva mammon. It has to do with taiva mammon. We're not going to go into it right now. For us to get to the land of Israel, meaning the place of all good, the place of peace, the place of blessing, the place of connection, the place of hashgacha pratit, divine providence, you need to break your taiva, whatever it is. Some people it's food, some people it's money, some people it's a taiva for sex, but some people have all three. Some people have all three, but in different levels, right? But everybody has something. Your ability to be able to experience hashgacha pratit, so to speak, to get to the land spiritually, is your ability to sublimate, to uplift your taivas and make those taivas for Hashem and not for a physical thing itself. And you use the physical world as a means to that, not that the physical world is an end in and of itself. So I'm going to make money in order to do something with it, not that I'm going to make money just to make money.
You don't live to work, you work to live, like you do in Israel.
Yes. And as long, Rabbi Nachman says, as long as you live to work, you will never experience hashgacha pratit. you will never feel that Hashem is the one who's controlling your life and is the biggest impediment to feeling Hashgacha Pratit. That's the 13th lesson of Likutey. So now he says, Ki b'chol yom v'yom tzarichin likabel et Torah mechadesh. Because every day we need to receive the Torah brand new, right? We know because it says in the Sifri, in the Parsha V'etchanan, Asher nochi mitzavecha hayom. I am commanding you hayom. We say this in the Shema, right? So Chazal say, what does it mean hayom? B'chol yom yeyu domin beinecha kechadashim. We know it's hayom. We say it every day. So why do we need a hayom? Because hayom is a state of reality. It's an inner shift. It's a paradigm shift. This is Rabbeinu's whole thing. To get you to live hayom. What does it mean hayom? It means you are brand new at every moment. That means if you're learning Torah right now, this is a brand new phenomenon for you. It's not that I'm coming again to my Likutey Halachot class. It means this is my first opportunity to connect to Rabbeinu. Brand new. Obviously, you're a different person now. And Bezrat Hashem, the more you learn it, you're becoming a happier person, a calmer person, a more connected person, a more loving person, a more patient person, right? And that happens over time. But still, every time you come anew, it's brand new for you. But that all has to do with what your mindset is. If you're stuck in Teva, no, you're the same person. You wear the same types of clothes, you look exactly the same, you have the same problems, X, Y, and Z, but all of that comes from a galut mindset, that I believe in Teva. But the whole entire ikr of the Torah, says Rav Nachman, says Rav Natan, is hashgacha pratit, is chiddush, new. What is it that the science world teaches you? That the world is yesh meyesh. Everything is something from something, right? Man came from animals. Animals came from amoebas. Amoebas came from the ground. The ground came from a cosmic mass, which ended up combusting and turning into physical reality. But there's no original point of existence that's new. And they think it's because they hopped something very, very deep and they figured it out finally. But the truth is, what they really did is they're completely connected and attached in their mind, heart, and soul and body to Teva. And the whole essence of Teva is it conceals godliness. Concealment of godliness means at its ikr, there is no such thing as a chiddush. There is no such thing as renewal. Everything is old. Everything has always been and will always be. And what does that cause a person to do? Immediately he goes into Yeush. The response to believing that, for not believing in something from nothing, is automatically a Jew experiences sadness. Does everybody understand that? You want me to give you an example? Put away your phone, please. Do you have any problems in your life? Thank God. Good. That's a good answer. Okay. If you don't believe those problems can change, that they're always going to be there, if not get worse and worse and worse. No, I'm not asking you about that. If you didn't believe that, if you don't believe that something new can come about in your life, you believe that everything that is will continue to be. No matter why, because of these are the circumstances, this is the historical background, these are the facts, this is this is that, right? So that's what it was, this is what it's going to be. There's no changing it. What would that make you feel? Very good, that's it. Depressed.
But in the future, you think
What?
you know you're going to
No, depressed. Now, why do you think you're depressed?
Depressed is the response is if you cannot change anything.
Yeah, and why don't you think you can change anything?
You don't believe in yourself.
No, yes, but what is that? Belief in self, belief in Hashem. Rabbi Nachman says Emunah is not a vague belief that God exists. Because if you believe Hashem exists, you can't be sad. Emunah and Simcha go together. If you say I believe in Hashem and you're sad every day, then you don't really believe in Hashem. But I do believe in Hashem. That person might believe more than me. So why are they not happy? I'm happy. Because they don't know that Emunah is not a vague belief that God exists. They may have that more than me. They probably do. But Rabbi Nachman says the ikr of Emunah is Machadesh. It's not just to believe that Hashem exists, it's to believe that Hashem is Machadeshing all of reality at every moment. That you are a new creation at every moment. that you're not the same as you were a second ago, that your situation is not the same as it was a second ago. And therefore, as a result of that, automatically everything can change in one moment. And that's emunah. And a person who doesn't believe that, he doesn't have emunah. Even if he believes God exists, he only believes there's one God, even all of this. And the proof is because emunah and simcha go together. And what's the opposite of emunah? Avodah Zarah. And Rabbi Nachman says, yeah, money is Avodah Zarah, Rabbi Nachman says. And what is the natural outpouring of Avodah Zarah? Atzvut, sadness. That's why a person who they come to shul every day, they pray in the morning, they wrap tefillin, they do the mitzvot, but they're sad all day. And I told you it's because I see that they're chasing after money. Why? Because they think that their emunah is, I'm going to do the mitzvot, but that's not emunah. Emunah is you believe Hashem is Machadesh, that He can renew anything and change anything at any given moment. You need to work towards believing that and praying to believe in that. And as time goes on, and the more that you connect to Rabbeinu, and the more that you draw His teachings into your life, and work on Makayim His Eitzah, the more that you're actually going to perceive in your inner reality that Hashem is Machadesh, that Hashem is literally recreating anew at every moment. And it's not hard for Him to do that. But until you believe it, He won't do it for you. Because as long as a person believes in other things besides Hashem, you yourself are nullifying the possibility that Hashem could reveal Himself to you. We learn this from the Jewish people of Mitzrayim, that Hashem said to them, tell them my name is Eker Asher Eker. I will be what I'll be. Why don't you just tell them I'm God, I exist. Go put on tefillin and wear tzitzit and pray in the morning with the minyan and go work for 20 hours. Why do you say tell them I'm going to be what I'm going to be? What it means is, and one of the great Hasidic masters explained it, I will be whatever you allow me to be. He was telling them the reason why they've been enslaved for 200 years. Because they don't believe that Hashem can change their life. But if you allow yourself to believe that I can do that. And if you don't believe I can do that and you have to do that, I could be that for you also. I'll be whatever you allow me to be. That's what it means. And that was the whole Geula, that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Tzaddik Yisrael Olam, came to Mitzrayim and said not just that God exists, they already knew God exists, but that God is, I will be what you allow me to be. He's not some super conscious reality that exists that, so to speak, somehow removed cares about you and gave birth to you, and now you're just living stam. That He's a living reality with you at every moment, and the degree that you make a space for Him, to that degree you experience Him. What does it mean to make a space for Him? It's to believe that He Machadesh, that He renews. Everybody with me?
That He renews, that He's Chadesh, but every day He renews, and everything can renew.
Everything is renewing. Everything is renewing at every moment.
So things could change like that?
They do. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Terrifying.
100%. But your ability to experience that is dependent on. And wait.
For the worse, in the blink of an eye.
In the blink of an eye. But your ability to experience that is dependent on your belief in it. I want to give you an example, and then we'll move forward a little bit. No. Work ethic is good. No, work ethic is rizu. That has nothing to do with this. Whatever you do, you should be working hard. When you're at work, you should be working hard. When you're learning, you should be working hard. When you're with your wife, you should be working hard. When you're with the kids, you should. There is no such thing as I don't work hard. Even when you want to relax hard. Everything you got to go hard or go home. No, that's what I'm saying. Whatever it is on Shabbat, you better go relax hard. When you're chilling with your boys, you better go chill hard. There's no such thing as I'm gonna go just be.
Yeah, leveling it out.
That is the cause of sadness.
Do you think people use this Torah a little bit to not have to
work hard?
And work?
We're gonna see. We're gonna clarify it. Okay, but I want to give you an example of a chiddush. Okay. Wait one second. There's somebody, a big tzaddik. His name was the Klausenberger Rabbi. Okay. If you look at his biography, first of all, if you want chizuk, go look at the Klausenberger Rebbe's biography. And if you realize this is just one Hasidic master and there's like hundreds of them, and you see that they're all like this to some extent, it's just going to blow your mind. But everybody who's a Hasidic Rebbe believes mamish that Hashem is Machadish. For them, it's not like it's not a chiddush. It's not. They literally, as kids, they believe it.
Yeah,
That's why there's
that's everything is Hashem.
Hashem. Like it's no question. They can mamish be in the worst financial situation. This doesn't mean that there's not people that are not like that, but the Rebbe himself is mamish like that. Okay, so the Klausenberger Rebbe was in the camps. He went to the camps. And he became, so to speak, the Rebbe of the camps. Originally, when he first got there, those who were in the camps, who were not Dati, they hated him because he wouldn't do anything that the Nazis told him to do. They told him to eat treif. He didn't do it. Even though according to Halachah, when your life is on the line, there's only 3 mitzvot that you're not supposed to give up your life for. Eating kosher is not one of them. So they said, even the secular people were like, what are you doing? You're causing us pain because you want to make yourself eat kosher and you're not even have to do that. And now we're all getting hit and beat because of it. They thought it was like a show. As the time went on and they realized he never budged on anything, they saw it wasn't for fanfare. He literally believed so much in Hashem that he wouldn't budge 1 inch. They told him he has to shave his beard or they're going to kill him. He wouldn't shave his beard. There's a million stories. And how did he end up doing that and not get killed? A lot of miracles. You read the whole entire biography, you see miracle after miracle after miracle, things you can't imagine, okay? There's one story in there that I tell all the time, and Mamish is one of the greatest stories I've ever heard in my life. The Klausenberger Rebbe, they were shifting them from one camp to another. You go from Bergen-Belsen to Dauschen, from Dauschen to Auschwitz. My grandfather was in the camps, okay? When they took you from one camp to another, sometimes it was better because the camp was less intense. Sometimes it was worse because you went to mamish a death camp versus a work camp. Well, you know if you went to that camp, you're just going to get killed in that camp, right? And they didn't know about all the different things. They were just being taken like sheep to slaughter. However, on the way from one camp to another, it's called now in history death marches because they didn't give them food. They didn't give them anything to drink. They used to beat them and work them and make them mamish like Mitzrayim. Yeah, from the way from one city to another, so you would die on the way. You wouldn't even get to the camp. Just from starvation, just from dehydration, just from, okay? And this was all in Eastern Europe, in the winter, in the freezing cold, where mamish, it's snowing, and it's negative 1,000,000 degrees, and unfathomable. A person who reads about,
The conditions were horrible.
just if you just read the Klausenberger's biography for 5 minutes every day, you're going to have the greatest day of your life. And you're going to realize your problems are nothing. By the way, it's just good advice for everybody. For anybody who wants to just like have a reality check, read a little bit, 5 minutes of any Holocaust survivor's biography, just for 5 minutes. And you're just going to be like, I have no idea what I'm upset about. It's all a sheker, okay? Anyway, it's going from one place to another. And on the way, people were dying out because they literally weren't giving them any food or drinks for days. And not like they were just sitting still. They were walking and walking, and they didn't stop walking for days. They wouldn't let them. The Germans would take naps, and then another person would get up and just keep them walking and going like crazy. It got to a point that literally they were so famished, they were so hungry, so thirsty, that their tongues would literally stick to the top of their mouths. They couldn't move their tongue. They like couldn't function, okay? And at the very last minute, when mamish everybody felt that they were actually just gonna die, the Germans decided to take a break. They said, we're gonna stop here, we're gonna camp here for the night. And they couldn't believe it, and they were all so happy. But they were so done, they literally just conked out on the floor. They all just laid down on the floor, just dropped. And they couldn't even move their tongues because it was stuck to the palate of their mouths. And as soon as they all lay down, what do you think? They just want to close their eyes so bad. They just want to close their eyes and get rest. Even if they can't eat, they can't drink, no nothing. The Klausenberger Rebbe barely spoke in the camps unless people came to him. At this point, they knew that he was the real deal, meaning he was actually a spiritual master, that he really had a munah like you never saw before. And at this point, even the secular Jews in the camp he became their leader, and they revered him. So when he spoke, they knew he meant something. When they all went down on the ground, he looked at them. You don't have to be busy. He doesn't speak Bukharian, so you can come back in.
Yeah.
Unless do you speak Russian?
Yeah.
You actually do?
Yeah, he speaks Bukhari, Russian,
Ah,
English, Spanish, Korean.
ah,
He speaks 16 languages.
beautiful.
We're sitting
We're in the middle of a class. Do you think we can ask somebody else? I don't know what it is, but do you have to be talking to him or?
No, he just said make sure you guys clean up after you.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell them to clean up after themselves.
But nobody clean it.
Okay, I'm
we didn't
gonna.
leave yet. We were gonna do it before we leave.
Guys, I ask you who we eat over here.
Yeah, but
Nobody
not
else.
all of us ate over here. You know?
Guys, over here is not restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no cleaning lady, no cleaning man.
You're right.
Please.
I'll take care of it.
All right?
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, have a great day.
Okay.
Hashem loves.
So when they all got dropped to the ground and they went to go put their eyes
Never
down,
been snorted at. Sorry.
You just snored?
you notice that they just spoke to you. They didn't speak to anybody else here, right?
Me?
Just this table. Why do you speak to us?
Because of Sutton.
That's it. Why didn't you speak to anybody
Because
else?
Jacob turned around.
No, no.
Okay, go weiter.
Klausenberger Rebbe looks up at everybody and he says, start digging. Start digging. What do you mean start digging? He said, just start digging. At this point, they all were bittul to him. So maybe he knows something, I don't know. But they had no energy. So they're literally on the ground and they just start going like this with their fingers to try and take dirt out. And he said, keep going. And they're doing this. And they're taking off a quarter of an inch of the ground, half an inch of the ground. An hour goes by, an inch off the ground. Hour and a half goes by, an inch and a half, 2 inches. Ultimately, after a few hours, water started shooting up from the ground. Literally like a geyser, a pure fresh water from the ground. Everybody there, even though they hadn't eaten in days, drank in days, they literally on the verge of death from dehydration and starvation, they all got up. And even though the soldiers were all dancing, and if they saw what was going on, they would have just killed them, they didn't care because they experienced Hashgacha Pratit, all of them, and they all started singing and dancing. Even the non-religious Jews, everybody, even the people who were anti. Everybody there just got up and started singing and dancing. And obviously they drank. And a German soldier came over to see what was going on. And he literally was looking. He was so dumbfounded. He couldn't even put up his gun, nothing. He's just looking at the whole thing. He couldn't believe what was going on, that they had all drank and that they all were hydrated now and that they all had this, like, they were dancing and singing. And he came and went to go get the German boss to come over. And he thought that they would just mark him out. And he ended up just attacking the German soldier, let him do it, and didn't do anything to the Jewish people. They ended up getting out of the camps.
Hey, right now, all around.
No, they didn't have to run.
Oh,
They literally didn't do anything. The Germans, even though on paper, when you did anything against what they said, they would kill you. The guy who literally saw it and was the cause of it, so to speak, by being asleep when they were all doing this, he couldn't move because he didn't understand what was going on. And the other one there, he mamish was looking at it, and he just, I think he ended up killing that soldier or something. Not the Jews. They asked the Klausenberg Rebbe after the camps, how did you know that there was water there?
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's a good question, no? Are you an expert in geography? You were, yeah, how did you know? They thought maybe he just knew the area because he's from Eastern Europe. He said, I didn't know where we were. I didn't know that there was water there. He said, how could you tell everybody that literally they're barely holding on to life and you're telling everybody to dig as if everything is dependent on it? Water shoots up from the ground. How could you possibly know? And he said, as simply, as genuinely, as unsophisticatedly as possible, salvation comes in the blink of an eye. So I thought, why not now? For him, it wasn't if there's water there, there's not. If Hashem wants, there could be water there. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And it's a good chance there wasn't water there.
Right.
But because he believed in that, there was water there. That's I will be what I'll be. But he really believed that.
Hashem will be whatever you want him to be.
Whatever you allow him to be. not what you want him to be. Because for him, it's not just that he wanted to believe in Hashem, that he actually did. And because he did, he said dig. But the process between wanting to and actually doing it takes time, takes hiporedu, takes learning. But you have to start by wanting it. If you don't want to get to the point that you can, you'll never get there. Because it starts with want. Everything starts with want. Ratzon. Does that make sense? How did he get to the point, or how can anybody get to the point that they actually believe that water can come out of the ground, even if it's in there, if Hashem wants him to at that moment? And Rabbeinu Zal says something which seems completely unrelated. If you break your desire for money, you will believe that.
Basically, instead of believing in money, you believe in Hashem. Basically, change your belief from money to Hashem.
Beautiful. And what is that called?
Amuna.
That's called rectified amuna.
What's the rectified amount of regular money?
Beautiful question. Because the answer is like this. It's a very important concept in Chassidut that nothing in and of itself is bad. There is no quality in and of itself as bad. Love is not bad. Fear is not bad. Truth is not bad. Faith is not bad. You choose where you allocate that feeling, that belief, that emotion, that thought. And Chassidut teaches that you can either use it for good, in a way that benefits you, in a way that's good for those around you, or you can use it in a way that destroys your life. But love in and of itself is not good or bad necessarily. Fear in and itself is not good or bad. However, in Chassidut, they explain that it's called chesed nefula, fall in love. A yira nefula, fall in fear, right? What would we call anxiety? Right? There is something called emuna nefula, fall in faith. What does fall in faith mean?
Brokenness.
That I believe in something else besides Hashem. All of these things that are fallen, it's when they're in people, places, and things versus Hashem. What is rectified love? When you love Hashem, then you automatically love what you need to love. What is rectified fear? It's not that you don't fear anything. It's that by fearing Hashem, you automatically don't fear anything else in the world. When you believe in Hashem, then you don't believe in anything else. But when you believe in something else besides Hashem, it's called fallen munah, fallen faith. And as a result of that, you end up believing in people, places, and things, and it's the cause of all your suffering. Okay?
The feeling that we're having right now when we're learning is the same feeling when you're at Yisrael. You feel like it's just warmth and just love.
Yes. Doesn't mean there's not difficulties there. There's challenges there. Just like there's challenges in learning and being a student of Rabbi Nachman, just like there's challenges in being married. It doesn't mean that you won't have challenges in Israel. You're going to have challenges in Israel. But for sure.
But what if a person understands this and doesn't make his money priority, makes learning priority, everything else? Does it?
Yeah, so the land of Israel is going to be the greatest thing in his life. The land of Israel is sweet to the degree that you live according to truth. If you live according to fantasy and you live in the land of Israel, the land is going to vomit you out. If you go to the land of Israel so that I can go make money, you're going to be miserable. Not because you can't make money there, but because your goal is something that's not real. And because your goal is something that's rooted in fantasy, the land which is rooted in truth, that's why it's called the land of Israel. Israel is a code word for emet, truth, because Yaakov represents truth. Meaning when a person is connected to truth, then the land of Israel is the sweetest thing in the world. But when a person is rooted in the power of imagination and he goes and lives in the land, he's miserable. He suffers. And that's why the people who talk to you about it tell you not to go, because they are not connected to the truth. And that's why when they go there, they feel struggle. But someone like, for instance, my wife, that she's not running after money, that she knows what's important in life, and she knows what makes a person happy. She feels, and she doesn't even think it's close. She has no idea why people live in New York. She holds that, like, for a Jewish person, it's the most miserable place to be. Why would you not want to live in your home where you're surrounded by all your brothers and sisters, that people love you, that you don't have to worry about something happening to your kids when they go outside, that you can go hang out with them? It's not about difference. It's about
There's a difference in community aspect. In the community aspect, the argument for most people here is like, yes, I can go to a place where it's, I don't have to worry about my kids going to the store. I don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about the government and, all these things.
Right, for sure, there's government stuff over there.
But the one difference is that there's a sense of community where, and for a lot of people here, community is a thing that holds them together. Now, if you go to some Israeli community where you don't necessarily know the people, and you're not familiar with them, you're not familiar with the language, there's a very great chance, there's a good chance that someone can be isolated. And if someone's isolated, there's a lot of room for.
One second.
There's a lot of room for.
Stop.
There's a lot of room for Averos. There's a lot of room. I don't want to say Averos. There's a lot of room for somebody just.
So make yourself a community.
You gotta make yourself a community. There's communities in Israel. There's
So
American communities.
again, so what I'm trying to say is, for everything that you feel is a lacking, if there's a want, there's a what.
But the person is going to, so he has to find means of parnasa. He has to.
Okay, this is for another time. We've discussed this a million times over.
He's saying that a person has to.
Again, 1 second. So now we're saying like this. Every day, it should be new in your eyes. Meaning that you have to receive the Torah new every day. You have to receive Hashem in your life every day like you never received him before. You just woke up. I have an ability now to connect to Hashem. I never did it before. I want to go find Hashem. That's called receiving the Torah anew. The Kabbalat the Torah, how do you receive the Torah? Hu al yedei shema'alina t'nefesh u'mechadshinata. It's through the elevation of the soul and the renewal of it. And the way that a soul is renewed is through the breaking of the desire for money. This is the concept of the arousal from sleep through zrizut, through being swift, running after Hashem. Bechinat emuna. This is the concept of emuna. Kitavot mamon hu bechinat kefirut. Because he says, and it's based on what Rabbi Zal says, that tavot mamon is kefirut, is atheism. It's a nullification of the belief in Hashem. If a person has a taiva mammon, to the degree that he's a taiva from mammon, to that degree he doesn't believe in Hashem. If he has 100% taiva mammon, 100% he doesn't believe in Hashem. If he has 50%, 50% he doesn't believe in Hashem. To the degree that he breaks his desire for money in and of itself, to that degree he's going to be able to experience emunah in Hashem. Bechinat laila. It's the concept of nighttime. So for a person, he's saying anybody who they're running after money, for them it's always going to feel like nighttime. Bechinat choshes, darkness. What's the concept of darkness? I'm confused. Things don't make sense. I don't understand why things aren't working out. Why is everything going against me? I feel lost. Very good. I feel confused. Why is this not deal coming through? Why is this thing not coming through? Why is this not happening? Why am I not doing this? All of this comes from Taivan Mamun. Ampin Chashuchin, which Rabbi Nachman explains, comes from the Zohar. It's the concept. There's a spiritual entity which is called saddened faces. That, so to speak, there's a spiritual entity that enters you, that as soon as you believe in anything besides Hashem, you, so to speak, you internalize this spiritual reality that's called saddened faces. And that's what you actually see on the outside. Meaning that your face becomes sad because you've actually drawn into yourself this thing called saddened faces. And that comes from Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Nachman says the entire war between Yaakov and Esav, which we're learning about in this parsha, is the war between simcha and atzvut, joy and sadness. If you're happy, it means you're winning. If you're sad, it means you're losing. But what does sadness and joy have to do with Judaism? It's a nice thing. It sounds really good. It makes me feel good. But how can you say that that's the entire essence of the battle between Yaakov and Esav? And the answer is because simcha and amunah go together. Because the function or the outpouring of simcha is in direct relation to your amunah. And Esav represents kafirut. Right? We know Amalek, it comes from Esav. And Amalek represents safek, doubt. Where do doubts come from? Esav. And what's Esav? It's the taiva for physical access. Meaning the lack of belief in God is actually originating and source, not in an intellectual disbelief. It's actually coming from your attachment to the physical world. And what it looks like is you just simply don't believe that Hashem can take care of you. But in truth, the whole reason is because you're so intensely bound up and connected with the physical world, Hashem is concealed from you. And then as a result of that, you don't see Hashem. So because you don't see Hashem, you don't believe in Hashem. But if you're able to detach yourself from physical excess, doesn't mean not physical enjoyment, physical excess, you automatically draw on yourself hashgacha pratit. And the greatest physical excess and the root of all of it, Rabbi Nachman says, is taivot mammon, the desire for money.
So somebody could even stop at basically not even having the last cookie.
Yeah, if you don't have a last cookie, you're closer to a moon.
See, by controlling yourself and not going after that piece of last cake,
Yes,
you're opening the door to Hashgacha Pratis.
beautiful. You got it. You got it.
Because you're sacrificing yourself.
No, because you're refraining, then the only way you'll get it is through Hashgacha Pratis.
That also, but it's more that what is ultimately,
We've spoken a lot more about.
yeah,
This is
For
like-
you,
for
you're
me.
no,
yeah.
for all of us, for all of us, for all of us.
No, but
The reason is
for
because
certain people,
I'm gonna, I'll explain to you. I'll explain to you. Ready? No, Barry, I understand. Barry's saying like this. He wants to know more about why it works like that. Why does it work that if I engage in physical excess, I'm not going to experience hashgacha pratit now? What's the connection between those two things?
that
And
what is the basically what
What
is
is-
what is the parallel?
right.
What is the parallel?
That's-
Number one.
yeah.
And number two, how do you work on that?
good. The parallel is like this, and this is something that is so important for you to understand, and why Rabbi Nachman speaks about Shmirat the Brit in almost every single Torah lesson. Okay, the Brit is not just I don't waste physical seed from the thing that's in between my legs. The concept of the Brit that Hashem gave to Abraham, that Abraham gave to Yitzchak, that Yitzchak gave to Yaakov, that is the sign, the siman that you're Jewish, which you have on the 8th day. What's the concept of the Brit? I remove physical excess. Do you need that piece of skin in order to function? That they take off on the 8th day when you're born. You don't need it, but you have it. You have it. It's available to you. And according to science, you actually feel more pleasure in the act if you have it. But Hashem says, take it off on the 8th day. Why does Hashem say take it off on the 8th day? You're literally removing a part of yourself from the most pleasurable area of your life on the 8th day. Why? Because 8 represents transcendence. 8 represents hashgacha pratit.
Above nature.
8 represents above nature. 8 represents emuna. 8 represents olam haba. 8 represents I'm not bound by the laws of nature. Meaning, in a way that's paradoxical, Hashem is saying, I want you, as the first mitzvah of your life, to inculcate, to internalize in yourself, that by limiting physical excess, you can experience 8. By removing a part of you that you have but you don't need, you actually enter into a state of complete unlimitedness. Where do we learn this from as well? Every single sphera, the sphera which is connected to the Brit is Yesod. Every single sphera is connected to a different name of Hashem. What's the name of Hashem that's connected to the sphere of Yesod? Shakai. Shin and a Daled and a Yud. And the Midrash says, what's the essence of this name? Sheh, that Hashem said, die to the world. Enough. When? When he was creating the world, it was expanding, excess. And Hashem saw there was no way for people to function in a world that continues to expand with no limits. So he said, die, enough. And that actually established the world, made it a livable, beautiful place once he said, die, enough. He created boundaries and limitations to the world, and that made it livable. Before that, you cannot live in a world that doesn't stop expanding. You need a space. Space comes from boundaries. So he said, die. The Midrash says that's the whole essence of the name Shakai. So now we can connect the whole thing. Why? Because what's the concept of the Brit? I'm saying no, die, enough to physicality. After I've had enough that it's livable, I say enough. And as a result of that, now it becomes a whole world for me. But if it keeps expanding, there's no space to experience life as it really is. These are a lot of deep things. Everybody understand what we're talking about? Okay, I'm trying to make it. So very simply like this. Can I see your food for a second? I'm not going to eat it. I just want to see it. Not that you're going to eat this anyway. But physicality, the essence, physicality, Hashem created this. If you can imagine that within this bagel, you have a soul. In every physical thing, you have a body and a soul. This bagel has a soul also. That soul is the godliness, the chiyut, which infuses the bagel, and that's what gives you life force from when you eat before you go into excess. That's why you feel better after you have a little bit of food. Because of the soul inside of it. It's giving life to you. But ultimately, once you go past the point of what you need for yourself, then instead of it giving you life, then it actually draws nourishment from your life force. That's why you get tired after. When you're done, when you eat more than what actually you need. Same thing with sleep. When you sleep more than you need, you're also more tired than when you started. When you are engaged in wasting seed more than the amount that you actually need to be sexually functional, you also become tired. All acts of physical excess make you tired. If you run after money, you became tired. Every excess makes you tired in the physical world. And the reason is because physicality is a concealment of godliness. And you need a little bit of concealment because you need to engage in the physical world. But once you go beyond what you actually need and you move into something beyond that, you're actually just causing concealment of Hashem from you in your life. Because Hashem's not physical. Hashem made an amazing thing that He made a thing that looks physical, but in reality is spiritual. And if you use it the right way, you can see Hashem in the food. You can feel Hashem in the food. You can experience Hashem in the food. Rabbi Nachman says you can get such a high level of spirituality that you can have bread and you can actually have it taste like whatever you want it to taste like. But that all comes from first breaking your taiva for it and using it in a way that's beneficial for you. But your ability to do that is dependent on you realizing that it's like you're doing a Brit Milah, meaning the 8th day. By doing a Brit, which is the most painful thing, I don't want to remove a piece from myself. I don't want to limit myself. But by limiting myself in the area of pleasure, then I get to experience the 8th day, meaning Hashgacha Pratit, Olam Haba, everything's a miracle, everything is from Hashem.
So people should be limiting themselves when it comes to money, food,
Anything physical.
any physical activity.
And that is the reason why when Rabbi Nachman calls the master of the Brit and a person says, yeah, but I don't waste seed and I'm still sad and I'm still angry, I'm still confused, because you haven't mastered the Brit. You just stopped wasting seed. Now that's the hardest thing to do. That's the hardest taiva to overcome. But at the same time, that's one of all of them, and all the taivas are part of the Brit. But if and when, and that's Rabbeinu's whole entire avoda is to get you to become a master of the Brit. And by becoming a master of the Brit, you experience Hashgacha Pratit at every moment. And that's what makes a person happy. It's not a physical thing itself that makes you happy. It's actually experiencing that Hashem is the one who's doing everything. That's the greatest feeling in the world, is ecstasy. It's like being in a Gan Eden. You should know that the Zohar says that whole story of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden, and it says, the Pasuk seems to say, and the way that they explain it, is that Hashem removed Adam and Chava from the garden. That was the place like Eretz Yisrael. That's like Gan Eden. That's ecstasy. That's Hashgacha Pratis. You feel Hashem everywhere. You're not ashamed. You're not worried about anything. You're not scared of anything. You're just in bliss. Noam. And it seems to say, at least the Mefarshim, everybody says, that Hashem took them out. The Zohar says that the Pasuk literally doesn't say that. The Pasuk literally says that Adam and Chava removed Hashem from the garden. Meaning they never actually left. We're still there. They removed Hashem from the garden because they blemished their Brit. Yeah, they ate from the tree. Because Hashem said, don't engage in this physical excess. I give you every tree except for this one. It's very deep. I give you every tree except for this one. They didn't limit themselves that little bit. And Hashem said, if you limit yourself this little bit, I'm going to give you everything. It's a facade, meaning that it's not really a giving up anything. It just looks like you are. But if you're able to do it because you believe in Hashem, you actually get everything. That's why when Esav came to Yaakov, he said, Yesh li Rav, I have so much. I have much. And Yaakov said, I have everything. What do you mean you have everything? You know more than I do. And even if you did, you don't have everything. But he did. He had everything. Because a kol is emuna. A kol is hashgacha pratis. So he had everything.
I mean, if they would have eaten from later on, they would have this enjoyment, just like we're controlling ourselves, preventing ourselves, we're going to have enjoyment.
A higher level of enjoyment.
Can we have the same enjoyment in every physical thing we're doing, just like we're having a sexual relationship with our wife, the same way we can get to have spiritually?
It's not going to be as naturally intense, but you can get to a point if you become a master of this area that every physical act brings you a tremendous pleasure. And just as a simple example, if for a week you only ate, let's say, bread and water, let's just say, okay? And then on Shabbat, you ate an apple. I guarantee you that will be the sweetest thing you ever had in your life. And then you realize, wait, I didn't even have to create this. I didn't have to cook this. I didn't have to make this. They sell this for 50 cents at the supermarket. Why don't I want this? And why when I have this, I'm like, weak. And the reason is not because it's not perfect. The apple is actually the sweetest, most delicious thing in the world. It's because we blemished our birth, and now as a result, everything in the physical world makes us feel sad and confused. And yes, and even that, it makes you feel sick after a while, after a few cookies. Yeah.
Well, last night I had a Rosh Chodesh party and I ate like a pig. Is that wrong?
We're gonna get there. Let's do a little bit more since the rabbi is not here. So maybe we could do a little bit more. Can we do a little bit more
Can I do the
inside?
bathroom in it?
No, it's excess.
To go.
Excess fluid.
Should I go?
Yeah, you
You
can
have
go.
to go.
I'm going. Any questions while we're waiting for him? Quick. Yeah. So let's do the end of this piece, and then you can head out. Okay. Where does sadness and lack of energy come from? It comes from Taivot Mammon.
I don't like it that I don't want to say that.
Is that I understand?
It's not the Taivot Mammon, it's the excess, basically.
Yes, but it's not just the excess. The reason why he's pointing out Taivot Mammon is because in some ways Taivot Mammon is like
It's for the right reason. I don't
What's
want to call it Taivot Mammon. I don't have
you. It's not about you. It's again. It's not. It's
It's basically what it really is, from what I understand of what you're saying, is that Taiva of everything. You're Taiva for Mammon, you're Taiva for food, you're Taiva for everything.
but the difference with Mammon is that the Taiva of Mammon is also a belief in Mammon. With the Taiva of food, I don't believe in food. I just like the taste. Money, I like the taste, and I believe in it. That's why Taivot Mammon, he's saying, is really the main thing that needs to be broken before you can experience Hashgacha Pratit, because Hashgacha Pratit comes from Emunah. You can't believe in anything else and also believe in Hashem at the same time. And if you do, then you don't get to experience Hashem in your life. It doesn't mean he's not there. It's like you're in the garden, but you feel like you're in Gehenna. But you're really in the garden. You never left. You're still there. So now he says like this. Bechinat mita. This is the concept of death. Many people think that death means when I physically die. But Chazal explained that that's just physical death. What is that an expression of? Spiritual death. Meaning sadness, depression. When a person feels terrible in this, I feel like death. They literally, according to Rabbi Nachman, they are dead. That's why they feel like it. They mamish feel like they are dead. Because death is concealment of godliness from your life. That's where atzvut comes from. And that's all rooted in Taivot Mammon. Because not only do you have a taiva for it, but you also believe in it. Between the two, you have like your pagama brit and your pagama muna. And then through the two things, you end up not experiencing Hashem at all in your life. And that's why a person who chases after money automatically is sad and lacks energy. Okay? This is the concept of sleep. Like it says in Masechet Brachot, that sleep is 1/60th of death. What's death? Rabbi Nachman says, Taivot Mammon. And you need to strengthen yourself to get up from sleep. Like the Shulchan Aruch says in the morning, you can't just get out of bed. You need to literally strengthen yourself like a lion to get out of bed. Meaning, you need to strengthen yourself to break this taiva. Shehi bechinat mita, because this taiva is actually mita, it's death. Bechinat tavot mamun, the concept of love and desire for money for itself alone. And then once you break it, you're automatically able to renew your neshama, to experience simcha, to experience life force, to experience joy, to experience hashgacha pratit, to experience a renewal completely. And you're able to elevate and to draw down new revelations of godliness. Hashgacha pratit. And when you break sleep, meaning tavot mamon, azayad rabba, then the opposite. Hashena hi tova lo daifka. Then he says, then sleep becomes good for you. Ki ayadeh shena mechadesh nafsho. Because what's the whole point of sleep to begin with? It's to renew yourself. But now we're saying that sleep is bad. So which one is it? Sleep good or sleep bad? And the answer is, it depends where you're at. If you're sleeping for the sake of sleep itself, then sleep makes you more tired. But if you're sleeping in order to be renewed, then sleeping renews you. What does that mean here? If we're saying sleep is keneged taivat mamun, that means that if you break your desire for money, then when I go to work is good for me. But as long as I have my taiva for mammon, then killing you. Understand? It's a very beautiful, beautiful thing.
Right. You're going to work to provide for your neshama, but if you go there just to work, it's death.
It's death, and that's what you feel. Everybody feels that. You don't have to convince anybody of this.
Work is not designed to fulfill you in that way.
It's not. That's right. That's why it's called the Avodah Zarah. One second. It says then ad rabba. He's not saying that money's bad. Rabbi Nachman actually says the whole cause of sadness, or the whole cause of our exile, is that we don't have enough of it. But it's the taiva of mammon that's killing you. It's not the having of the money.
That's why if you inherit $10 million, but you still keep your learning, and it's much better.
Yeah, 100%.
Going and slaving.
100%. And that's why Rabbi Nachman actually said that even though the Baal Shem Tov reached this highest level of Emunah, and obviously this is not a norm, and this is not anything that any rabbi would suggest to you, but Baal Shem Tov reached such a level of Emunah that he literally never had money from one day to the next. Whatever money he got, and he ended up having a lot of it because he became like the tzaddik ador, so everybody came up to him and give tzedakah. He would give it to poor people, to orphans, to widows, to causes of people who needed it every day. So by the end of the day, he never had money in his wallet. And he started the next day depending on Hashem completely. And he was able to do it, right? Comes along, and you think that would be like, that's the highest level of Munah. You can't have a higher level of Munah than that. Rabbi Nachman comes and says there's a higher level of Munah than that. Obviously, you can't say that unless you're his great-grandson, and you feel that obviously you yourself achieved that higher level. He said a higher level of Munah is not that you give away your money, but that you keep your money and use it the right way. So it takes more Munah to do that than to give it away. It's a very deep thing. You're going to have to think about it. If you think about it, it makes sense. What's harder, to eat in proportion or not to eat at all? Not to eat. So that's what he's saying. It's amazing. It's such a genius.
You love it.
You don't understand. It's really, it doesn't, when you,
truth.
It's truth,
But he hits the nail
but he
on
hits
the
it
head
every single time, as Benny would say, Gucci.
Right.
And then as a result of that, and you see he was 38 years old. He lives in isolation in Ukraine, in Uman, in Breslov, in Mezibush. He literally lived in the fields doing hibodadu all day and night. They used to not see him for days. There's no way naturally a person can come to such a level of understanding without an influx of something that's just not. And then you start to realize, Tzaddik Yisod Olam, there's no other way to explain it because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that you can know everything about everything and not be with people and have a completely different outlook on life and literally make yourself look crazy while in the forest you go and talk to Hashem and learn Torah every day, and you become mamish, a guru in spirituality and physicality, financially and emotionally, psychologically. It doesn't make any sense. He is. Mamish is. It doesn't make any sense. The more that you learn and you live with his teachings, the more you realize that he's it. and the more unbelievable it becomes to you because it doesn't make any sense, and that's why you have to go to Shabbat Hanukkah to go.
Did you hear what he said about?
Just heard what he just said.
No, not that. Tell him again why it was such a high level that he was giving the money he had to tzedakah.
Because what is harder? Not to eat at all. Let's say you want to go on a diet. Not to eat at all, or to eat in proportion. No. No, wait. Sorry. What's sorry? I missed the question. What is
Harder.
Harder. Yeah. What's harder?
Not to eat in proportion.
Oh, you said it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said it right. Why is it eat? But that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It should be that to not eat at all is harder because physically you're not eating. You need to eat. So why is it harder to eat? Why is it harder to eat in proportion?
Because you can't stop.
Because you need to be a master of the bird to do that. Because you need to have mastered the bird to do that. That's the hardest test in the whole world.
To not fall into excess.
Yeah.
Time out. How come women have that problem? Like certain women, they'll have whatever. I'm just saying excess. I'm just saying, why is it specifically a man? Man has a Brit issue, fine. Women, they don't have a Brit issue.
They also have British.
How do they have a Brit issue?
Because we're saying that the Brit is not just about sexuality.
It's
The
about
Brit
any
is about
excess.
physical excess.
When your life is in the
The
eighth.
woman that walks around uncovered hair, that's already.
No, now you're moving into Sephardi
and
Torah
now
over
you're-
here.
Yeah, and you're trying to get him to get
You're
into
trying to get
like, a clip about you and they ruin your name. Look what he said.
I love how you just went into that. What does that do with a
Everything
woman
outside.
covering her hair?
What is that?
Exactly.
No,
Okay, then we have to talk with
No,
somebody.
obviously there's a whole issue with Sanua, but this is not that. This is
So what's the excess for women, basically? That's what I'm trying to get
Any-
at,
any-
because hang on a second, for the men it's very clear. I understand what you're saying. It's the birth and it's the mama night and it's simple. You're saying a woman who has to control herself. I'm just saying.
let's say a woman who we know that women are more connected to physicality, meaning in terms of financial, they need to feel safe. They need to see financial stability. Whereas a man might believe he has it or will have it, and he doesn't get as concerned. But a woman, mamish, needs to see it, or she loses her mind. She loses her yeshuv da'at. But besides that point, there's also an excess of a desire for money. And those women who just want to have a lot of money, not because it's making them feel comfortable, but simply because they want a lot of money, they're also sad. Everybody who is in a world of physical excess, that's called pagama brit, and that is causing them sadness. The brit is your relationship with the physical world. When you use the physical world as a means to eat, when you use the Brit Milah in order to experience the 8th day, then your life is gishmak. You're happy, you have energy, you have strength, you have excitement, you have life force, you have joy with whatever you have. And if you do not remove that piece of physical skin that you don't need, that you have, then automatically you don't experience the 8th day, you don't experience the Brit. What did the Or Chaim say about Avraham Avinu? He said about Avraham Avinu that when did Hashem appear to him? After he had the Brit Milah. Why? Because it said that as soon as he did the Brit, he automatically saw Hashem. He started seeing Hashem everywhere. He saw him in Malachim, he saw him inside of people, he saw Malachim, inside of this, he saw Hashem. For the rest of his life, he saw Hashem. What was happening before that? He didn't have the Brit yet. The entire Chiddush of the Torah is that by achieving what's called mastery of the Brit, you get to experience Hashem at every moment. Because when you fix the Brit, you put yourself back in Gan Eden. Because the whole entire being tossed from Gan Eden, which is not actually you being tossed from there, but Hashem being tossed from there, is this pagam of the Brit. And obviously where this meets its most intensity is in the area of sexuality. But that's just the head of it. There is every physical excess is an extension of that.
After the Brit, how can he see the angels? He didn't see the 3 angels coming. He thought they were just ones of
He didn't. The Or Chaim said that he knew that they were malachim.
So he knew it.
Yeah.
What do you watch this?
There's a lot, you have to look at his whole entire, it's very mystical. You have to look at his whole entire explanation. But simply put, he says that following the Brit, he saw Hashem mamish the rest of his life. And I'm telling you as a person that I grew up and I was a complete non-believer. Complete. I never heard of Hashem my whole life. I didn't know what Torah was, the tefillin, Shabbat, no nothing. It's not like a lot of the people here that they may not be keeping all the mitzvot, but they believe. Like what are you talking about? I'm not be telling you I don't believe. Of course I believe. Even if they don't do anything he says to do. But they believe. Where do you actually experience hashgacha pratit? I mamish experience it. That every single day I see Hashem, the one who's causing everything. But that came from tremendous toiling to be able to stop wasting seed. Not just in that area, which obviously is the most difficult, but just in physicality, stam. Okay, we'll do a little bit more and we'll finish up. Because when you break it, then on the opposite, then the money actually becomes good for you. Just like sleep becomes good for you. Ki al yedei sheina mechadesh nafsho. Because through sleep you renew your soul. Bichinat chadashim lebakarim rabba amunatecha. Focus in. Almost there. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. No second. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Why do you get so annoyed about the phone? Is it personal?
It's physical excess.
No, if someone's expecting.
But you don't also know that this is time that the world is operating. We're not on Israel time.
I'm trying to help you.
I know, I'm just asking.
Yeah. So sometimes a person who's teaching has attained a certain level. And the people he's teaching, he knows that that's what they want to achieve also. But they're not holding there yet. So they can't actually see clearly because they're still in prison. But the person who's teaching may not be in prison anymore. So when he tells you to do something and it sounds like he's not connected to you, he just doesn't understand what you're going through, he actually understands more than you. And you don't understand how these things are actually contributing to your inability to leave that place. Okay? This is the pasuk Chadashim Labakarim Rabba Munatecha. Whoever phone is vibrating, please put it off the table. Okay? The pasuk says, renewed is in the mornings, great is your faith. Meaning, V'chen ayedei mamon, meaning through money, mechadesh nafsho. You're able to renew your soul. Ayedei masa matan be'emuna, meaning when you work with amuna. When you work with amuna, then the work itself is good for you. Stop. And it renews your soul. Meaning, sleep is good for you. Money is good for you. Food is good for you. Drinks are good for you. Sexual intimacy is good for you. But it's only good for you when it's good for you. And if it's not that, then it's not just stam and parav, it becomes bad for you. Okay? Everybody have a good day.
Amazing. You have to.